Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Fellas Podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing the very eventful Miami Grand Prix. As always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to All Things the Fellas to stay up to date on all of our updates. Today, we have our usual panel, Simon, Ray, and I'm Ralph. So let's get right into it. So, guys, what do you think? I think it was a pretty eventful race, this Miami race. What do you think?
I think it was excellent. I think the whole weekend was excellent. I just wish I was there to experience it live.
Yeah.
But I think the sprint race was good. I think the qualifying was awesome for both the sprint race and the actual Miami Grand Prix. I hate to say it, but Verstappen not winning made it more exciting. I wanted him to at least, put some spirit into the racing and be challenged, and he was right. And I think Red Bull was very challenged this weekend. Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, I think they all challenged Red Bull this weekend, mostly McLaren. But I think it was a good race. I think it was a great weekend. I just wish I was there.
Yeah. How about you, Ray?
Well, I think it was a action-packed weekend, considering the sprint race and what transpired in there. Right. And then the follow-up for the race that was today. How can I put this? I need to know more because I'm a little perplexed with some of the performance.
Really?
Yeah. So,
like what? Give us an example.
All right. So let me start out with the sprint race.
Let's get right into it.
Yeah. It's a sprint race. Ricardo, he looked like himself doing that sprint race.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He was like back in there up in the points and he was fighting, dude, it was like he was hard to pass.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He was not given an inch.
Right.
And so, that to me was that was perplexing me, right? Because when you look at his how he behaves over the season, right, so far, it's sometimes it comes across that he's not all there. I think he was, for the sprint race, he was on fire, right? He was like old Ricardo coming into it. So it makes me wonder, is it because you have a car that's not able to run in the front of the pack that causes that?
Probably.
Or what turned him on for that race? You know what I'm saying? Does his finishing and the position he finishes has that much of an impact on his psyche to perform? So that's where I'm kind of perplexed with Ricardo on that, right? And, I have to give a shout out to my man Magnusson because, bro, he must have set the record to getting the most penalties in a race, bro. I'm surprised he was even on the grid this morning. That amount of penalties they gave him. But he was, he was like.
But he earned them.
Yeah, well, listen, he was like, you ain't passive B, but he took it. But yeah, I have to give him. It was a standout, but yes, there are times he had to give stuff up and let stuff loose. But yeah, the amount of penalties they racked on him, man, it was outrageous.
What did you think of the weekend, Ralph?
For me, it was refreshing to see a McLaren win, and not a Red Bull, and 7 seconds ahead of Max. Even with the fact that the safety car played into it for Lando, which is fine. It's racing. I enjoyed it. I had my usual questions of, okay, where was the other Red Bull? Sergio, where was that? Where was he? My other thing was I was comparing drivers, the usual ones again. Fernando, that was the maximum he could have gotten out of that Aston Martin. Where was Lance? And then same thing like you mentioned, Ray, where was Daniel? The kind of thing. But I thought it was good. That made it great. I was hoping, and I saw like in the last lap how Lando was making sure he was staying wide of the curbs, away from the wall, and you could see he was gingerly bringing it back to make sure he got it across the line. I'm happy for him to get his first win, so I enjoyed it.
Just to piggyback on something you said, Ray, it was perplexing for Ricardo's race, sprint race qualification, holding his own in the sprint race, and then coming in pretty much in the back of the pack for the race. And it makes me wonder, right? Sometimes there are certain tracks that drivers are just going to love, and they know to the T. They know where they can pick up speed. They know the first or second sector is theirs, and they struggle on the other two sectors. Or they're good at two sectors and struggle on one. That doesn't explain why his qualifying for the race was so terrible compared to his qualifying for the sprint. Now, I can understand why he was aggressive in the sprint versus the race, because in the sprint, you have less strategy, right? You know you have 15 laps. You're probably going to use one tire. You know the tire you're going to use, and you're going to go all out. There's no, gas strategy, tire strategy, none of that. You're just racing. It's just like go-karting at that point. In the race, there's a lot more strategy because there's a lot more laps. There's a lot more degradation that you have to be aware of. There's a lot more being mindful of tire wear, being behind a car too long. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of people in your ears as well. But it doesn't add up. Something is not adding up. Why he was good qualifying for the sprint, holding his own in the sprint, and then coming in dead last in the race.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask the both of you this, because you guys might be able to tell me. When you're doing what did they do? They did 57 laps in the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So, you're carrying fuel for
the 10,
maybe 60, or a little bit more. Let's just say a little bit more. Your safety cars, yada, yada, all of that, right? But let's say 57 laps worth of fuel, let's say. 15 laps in a sprint race, lighter fuel load, right?
Yeah.
Car's going to respond differently.
Well, okay, so maybe the setup, because as a car progresses through the race, right, it does get lighter.
Sure.
So what I'll step back on is what you say, the setup, because the setup could be more drastic just to accommodate the light load that they're starting with, as opposed to accommodate the heavy load that they're going to start with in the race.
Right, which a long run.
Right. So I'll step back on that. Yeah, I'll give that. Yeah. So that could be a possibility. It's just trying to understand more. You know what I'm saying? Because I will say a couple of weeks ago I was like, "Yo, Ricardo's done. He's out the door. Whatever." And then this weekend he popped up. And it's just like trying to just me just trying to get a concept to understand. What these guys really go through that will dictate this type of stuff, right? Because he showed up and he showed up well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was just surprised. I will admit I had personally kind of written him off, but after seeing what he did with the sprint, it changed my mind. It makes me now wonder, how we can get more of that. You know what I'm saying? What is keeping him from being that person more often?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I love the sprint weekends, man. The sprint race weekends. I didn't know what was going on the first couple of years they did it, and I was like, what is the sprint? Didn't make sense. But now I'm really enjoying it.
That's one of the reasons they put it in, to give a little bit more spectacle for the fans too. So, and it's working.
It's better than 3 qualifying, that's for sure. 3 practices.
Yeah.
Well, they had a busy event down there, right? Because they had the Porsche Cup race. Mm-hmm. And then they had the women, what you call it, the Academy. That race too. So they had a pretty packed weekend, including the Formula One stuff, right? So
wish we were there. Wish we were there.
Yeah. So it's good, but again, it's just trying to piece it together and understand what's going on. But yeah, it was good to see Daniel. It was good to see Daniel. Putting his elbows out, doing his stuff. And, I won't even say, it's good for Lewis. Lewis showed up, bro, because even though he wasn't happy with the car, he got into some stuff, I'm kind of segueing into like the racing. He was pushing it in the racing. He was, on some, what we just saw, he was really pushing the car.
Yeah, he was giving Perez a race.
And he had one of the commentators came across and said that the way he responded to one of the things over the radio, you could tell that the Lewis spirit was there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That even though he hates the car and whatever, is still there. And segue back into what the heck is up with Mercedes? Why can't they get stuff right?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? It's just like it's again, I got to hit on it. Is it that much of a brain drain that they got that they didn't really, like they're still up in the air with stuff, right? And so, it was
clearly
it was good.
Clearly with Mercedes, listen, they're not going to recover this season. So this season's a wash already.
Whoa. No, but I find that hard to swallow. I find that hard to swallow.
That I can remember, there hasn't been a team that within the course of the season recovered when they were so far back. Like they're a midfield team now. That team then started challenging for wins. I can remember. Maybe someone can drop a note in the comments to say it if I'm wrong, but I don't recall during the period of the new rules back in the heyday in the 90s and the early 2000s when your budget was whatever you wanted? Maybe. You had, maybe, like Ferrari or McLaren back then, they could, they had the budgets, they could do things like that, but they're not coming back this season.
So, all right. So you see, that makes it even worse for me. I'm sorry, Simon. I just got to get this off my chest and then, go ahead. Because I can understand if they were a back tier team, okay, coming up and, trying to get a recipe together. Fine. But these dudes were dominant for years. Yes, the platform changed. However, there should be a base level understanding of the requirements for the vehicle, right? Okay. But then last year they had opportunity to, and they realized that their stuff was junk, right? So they should have at least be able to turn it around now and say, yo, we need to move in this direction. You know what?
But what direction?
Be simple like McLaren. Copy somebody. Dude, they just need to do something instead of just doing what they're doing because it ain't working. I'm sorry.
Well, hey, Ray, you keep talking, bro. Keep talking.
Yeah, right off the edge. I know, right off the edge. But dude,
when it's like that, and you're that far off, and your internal team is off, that's when you need some rock star to come in from somewhere else, maybe from another team that has been doing things a different way, and inject that into the team to say, okay, no, guys, I see what you're doing here. No, that's going in the wrong direction. You need to start moving this way, right? So maybe that's what they need. Hence, and I just to mention, why, just mention it, not to discuss it now, why Adrian Newey leaving is such a hot topic and commodity on the grid, because everyone knows he knows which direction to do it when it comes to aero. So that's one aspect of the car you won't have to worry about. Right. Then you just have to get into engine and all the rest of it and get that package, right? So Mercedes needs somebody like that to come in and say, no, guys, this right here is crap, right? And it's crap because of this, and this. We need to go in this direction.
I think they know it's
find that this season.
Well, I think they know it's crap. It's just that they don't know what direction to go in, right?
It's evident because
they're being beaten by a customer team, i.e. McLaren, right?
So to that point, I think Ralph Ray has a point.
Okay.
McLaren was kind of midfield, was kind of in those 6, 7, 8 positions at the beginning of the year. And the way they've upgraded their cars this weekend seems like now they're in the top 4, top 5 areas.
But it's not this weekend. They've been trying to find their way back for years. But they finally hit on something. Yes, that
right. So here's my question, right? Okay. So we know McLaren and we know Mercedes did upgrades, and it seems to have worked, right? I think Lewis looked competitive to a certain point this weekend. It looked like he was on pace with the rest of the top 6 cars, which is good. He was riding Perez's bumper, and I think if it wasn't for tire, him having used medium tires, he probably would have passed Perez. So that was, to me, that was a sign of the upgrades working, right? The scary thing is Ferrari and Red Bull haven't put their upgrades on yet,
and they're still up there.
I don't think, this is just me, I don't think Red Bull is worried about upgrades because they're still 1 and 2 without the upgrades. They might do little tweaks here and there, but now everyone's catching up, and they're probably like, we'll do upgrades if necessary at the end of the year, right?
Right.
But Ferrari haven't done their upgrades yet,
right?
And Charles came in 3rd. To me, that's going to be scary. They're going to give McLaren and Red Bull a run for their money. Hopefully their upgrades are upgrades and not downgrades.
Right. True. It's happened when it's gone the other way.
Right.
True.
And I think, I am hoping, I'm praying, and I am optimistic that the middle and the end of the season is going to get competitive. Right now, Red Bull is running away with it, and I'm hoping this race was a sign to come that it's not always going to be Verstappen winning the race. They're kind of far ahead right now. They're 100 points ahead of Lewis. I think they're 20 points ahead of Ferrari, or 30 points ahead of Ferrari. But I'm hoping next week it's somebody else other than Verstappen as well.
Well, we would hope. Yeah, we would hope.
Well, I'll say this. The point you brought up was a real eye-opener. The point is this. It ain't going to change because you know what? You just gave the sauce away. They have not applied any upgrades yet.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And if they're still dominant without upgrades, valid point, then, yeah, you bring an upgrade, you're not still starting at the same level as they are. So it's still going to be behind the 8 ball, right? The way I see it. Unless they fumble the upgrade, and then it will get interesting. But the fact you raise a good point. Yeah, it would be more of a apples to apples if the upgrade was put onto their car. True.
Right.
Just one last point before you take it, Ralph. It's just, to me, I don't think Red Bull is focused on this car. They're focused on next year's car. Right.
Yeah, and I would agree. Yeah, they have the ability.
They might not have upgrades. They might think to themselves, we've maxed out this car, and we might make tweaks here and there for each track. But I don't think they think that they need to make upgrades. I don't think they do. I think if it gets really competitive and McLaren and Ferrari start winning races, like if they win 2 races in a row or 3 races in a row, they're gonna avert their attention to next year's car and then see what can we do to make sure that we continue to win this season.
Well, maybe. I could see that. I still think they would. They for the lead that they have, I agree that it would probably be tweaks. They don't need to come with a huge, massive upgrade package. Because this could be a fluke race for Max. I mean, think about it. The only other race he didn't win, he had a DNF because of the engine let go. The car wasn't working right. He wasn't happy with how it was turning in and so forth. This could be a fluke.
So let me ask you a question, right? I hear both of you.
Mm-hmm.
This is my take.
Okay.
So it's like they're going to take a phase approach. They have a big fix if they need it.
Right.
But they have an intermediate fix if they don't need the big fix.
Okay.
Right? Because if you look at their attitude, they want to win and they want to dominate.
Yes.
Right. So even though, yes, what Simon says, yes, they're focusing on next car, but I think somebody penned out what would be the ultimate upgrade in order to ensure if anybody was to really catch up.
Right.
And I think they already picked that upgrade and said, well, all right, this is the final thing, but if we just add this and this as an interim one, that we could see how that goes before dropping the whole thing. That's what I think.
Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense. I can agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I have a feeling there's more internal issues going on with Red Bull right now than there is racing issues, and I truly believe eventually it's going to hurt them this season. I think today was a sign of that. Right. But that's just me. We'll see what happens in the next 2-3 races to see if it's going to be consistent where McLaren is going to give them a hard time. And you might be right, Ray. They might have a big banger waiting in the corner just in case, it gets a little too competitive liking. Right. And, but I have a feeling Ferrari's right now scaring me. They haven't done any upgrades and they came in 3rd. And they qualified 2nd in the last 2 races.
Yeah, they came in 3rd and 4th.
Yep.
So I have to ask you a question. So not to interrupt you, but since we were talking about that, what was Checo on? Was he on drugs when he started the race? Bro, he had no angle. Listen, the angle that he took to that corner, and let me roll back. I'm just Mr. Measly little the driver, right? However, the last time I looked at Red Bull car could not do right angle turns. Right, and if you watch the playback, he was on the inside of the track, so he needed a right. Listen, nobody needed to be in that corner, and he wasn't going to make it. Okay,
he almost took out Max.
He almost took out his own.
And so what the heck, bro? Why didn't you check up before? And then because he hit the curbing, this unsettled the car, and he dude.
Yeah,
I don't know what's up with Checo. Come on, you know you're on the inside. Your car can't make a right-handed turn how the heck you gonna keep pushing?
Well, he was in Miami, and Miami sometimes, people get
yeah, you must have had something before the race, bro, because that one was, when I looked at that playback, it was like, I don't want to be all religious, but it's like the hand came down and said, oh, it's like Noah parted the seas. They pushed Max forward and held the other guys back and let him go through. You know what I'm saying?
Because that should have been a 3-4 car pilot.
Yep.
Dude, he almost wiped out Max and everybody behind him, right?
Yep.
But when you look at the approach, my opinion, he wasn't thinking straight when he saw that, because there is no way on earth, if he was the only one on track that day to take that corner the way it did, would make that corner. It
looked like a desperate lunge, which was basically
it was surely a lunge. Yes, that was like, I agree with that. That was a lunge, because bro,
very, very reckless,
dude. That was a major faux pas for that person. But it's that was close. People held their breath on that stuff. But
with Checo, when you brought him up, I mean, I've heard floating that maybe Sainz might end up there. Checo again, like we said, teams want. Like how Ferrari, like how Leclerc and Sainz, you want to be right behind your teammate, right? When you're finishing, right? Kind of thing. And Checo's down the road, and you could see at least, okay, with Max, the car is capable of second that weekend. And he was further down the pack. He's in danger.
So I think.
Do you want? I mean, I have it up if you guys want to see his intro into the corner.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Sure.
It was crazy, and I think what he was trying to do was he was trying to try to get ahead of Leclerc, but it just didn't happen.
He wasn't trying to pass on that track, nor for that corner. He was looking at a different track altogether with that approach.
Yeah.
It
ain't gonna work that way.
Once you see it, you can see that he was way, way off trying to get that car in there. So as you can see, he's right behind Leclerc. And watch him go in on the inside.
So he took the outside out. Yeah.
And then he just couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Now, you need to see the in-car one from his car. Hopefully this one shows it. And you'll see that dude, bro, from your thing, you had like nothing.
No, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. We don't know what he was thinking on that one, but he was definitely trying to, I don't know, hold his position. Ask Leclerc. I don't know what he was trying to do. He wasn't
trying to do nothing. He was on something, because it's just crazy. That was not. When they looked at the in-car version footage from his car, I don't know. As I said, I don't know a Formula One car that can do a right angle turn.
It was a desperate lunge.
So and I want to just throw this out there. All right, not to breathe a conspiracy, but I think Max got a message to just chill where he's at second, based upon how the car was behaving for him, because he complained that there was oversteer on the steer. It was unpredictable.
Yeah, no grip. He said no grip in the balance.
Right. And I think somebody, it probably didn't come across on the radio channel, but somehow they reached out to him and say, yo, just chill second and, leave it where it is.
Why do you think that?
Okay? Because the car was a handful for him, right? You know what I'm saying? And they're just saying, hey, we can walk away with second. Dude, you are completely far ahead in a championship, right? And my point, thinking from Max's perspective, he probably analyzed how much work he was doing to keep the car, in control when he was out in front. He would have to do extra work to go catch Lando to pass him. So, so maybe maybe he just took a thing and say, you know what, you're right. There's no way this dude's going to catch me. And at the same time, why am I going to jeopardize? Because there's no runoff really, on that track. So he's just like, he took out that bollard up there, right? He just went and just wiped that sucker out, right? So that kind of that probably sent him a message to say, hold up, bro, you don't have the traction that you think you have, right? So you'd be just better to just reconsider what you want to do and just chill with that, because, he wasn't being challenged from behind anyway. So just, roll it out, right? Because the car was, up in the air.
I think he probably came to that on his own. But the team concurred. I agree, because I mean, he's out there in the trenches, so to speak, and he knows what the equipment he's got, and it can't do it. So so I think both of them team effort. He's probably like, look, this is the best I can get out of this car this weekend, and they were like, all right, just stay there. Bring home the points. Yeah, I think it was a team effort, but I think he would have come to that. I mean, he's a racer, but I think he's seasoned enough now that he's not a rookie where he would have been trying to stress himself to go after it. He knows, like, I can't get that. I can't match that right now. I'll take second. I got a big enough lead. I'm good.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be back on top next week.
You think so?
Gambling man, if I were a gambling man, I would say, yeah, he's going to win it again.
Yeah, I take that because this is a unique track. It's not one of the regular tracks out there. Right. I don't give this much weight.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
I need to see them get on some regular tracks and do that. But but touching on McLaren, my man Piastri, props to him. He's a good driver because they shorted him on upgrades, right?
Yes.
Lando got the full package.
Yes.
And they shorted him on. And if it wasn't for the incident, he was running up there. So Lando's got to watch his back because Piastri, he is
he's hungry.
He's a driver. He's got his stuff together. He's got his stuff together. You know what I'm saying? Because for a while he was leading the race, yes, because he had to pit, whatever. But still, he was in a better position than Lando.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, I think he kind of, things didn't work out for him and he got the short end of the stick for this race. But Piastri, you got to watch. He's going places.
Yeah.
That way.
Did you hear his team say, stop racing with Ricciardo?
Oh no, I wanted to get to that because that was a slap in the face, bro. The guy is racing. The guy comes up. That was, you know what? That one is equivalent to what they did to Logan Sargent. Get out the car and give it to Albon. That's how I take that. Because the dude is a racer. He is racing. The dude comes over. Listen, it basically should have just said it. Stop racing because we don't want anything to happen to Lando. He's going to win.
Right.
I didn't really take it that way. Because they were racing hard. Him and Ricciardo were racing hard to the part they were off the track. So what they were saying is pass him, but you don't need to be passing him on corners. You know what I mean?
What they didn't want was a crash.
Oh, like the
car bunching back up the field.
Right.
An opportunity to attack him.
Yeah. Understood.
So they're not crushing. It's not meant to crush his race, but it's like, hey, we can win a race right now.
All right. So I don't agree.
It's a team effort, but I'll say
I don't agree.
Well, but we had this in the past. It's that you got to remember, it's a team. That win is worth millions to McLaren for the points that they got.
And you said at the beginning of this podcast that team effort is lasting. Remember, you said that, Ray?
Dude, I don't agree. I take it back.
Yeah.
Because they punked my man. They punked him. They're like, yo, sit back and relax. Stay in line, bro. They punked him.
And my bad. Hold on. Let me just see. Where was Daniel? What did they rate?
So when Piastri, because he had an incident where he had to change. Hold on, but he had an incident, right, that caused Piastri going to get a wing, front wing.
With him and
so that what threw him in the back all the way, right?
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what threw him in the back, right?
Yeah,
before that, he was doing all right. So yeah, they punked him, man. They was like, yo, dude, chill. Sit back there and suck it up, for the team. And
he wasn't going to get any points anyway, Ray, so why cause an accident?
Man, but the man was, that guy was moving during that race, right? He was up there within the top 5 and pushing up to the front. So they don't know he could come back. He had a better car than Daniel for sure. You know what I'm saying?
He eventually passed Daniel, but they wanted him to pass him on the straights, not on the curve.
Right, not on the curve where you could crash.
Yeah.
Well, see, they could have delivered the message differently. They could have said, think about the team when you make your moves, right? Instead of saying, yo, Lando's going to win. Don't put don't put it in jeopardy.
No. You know what, Ray? Think about the team. That's too ambiguous, right? That leaves room for interpretation the wrong way. Think about the team. Lando's going to win. Then you already know.
All right.
He's up. I think for where he was, if he were in the points racing for another position, I don't think they would have said that to him. He's out.
I think they would have because they wanted Lando to be there. You know what I'm saying? They would have told him to chill out because if what you're saying is that the amount of points that they're going to get for the win, then why jeopardize it? Depending on the driver he was attacking, right? Depending on that driver. If the driver is one that is willing to yield and give space on the road, then fine. But if there's a driver that's like, yo, I got nothing to lose, so, let's go to the, whatever, then, yeah, I can see it happening. So,
I think if it were in a points-paying position, if he were running in like 8th, trying to get 7th or something like that, they may have come over, but it would have probably went something like, be careful, right? Because Lando's in a position to win. Just be careful. I don't think they would have told him stay, unless it was later down in the Grand Prix, getting closer to the end. Yeah, then they would have come out and said, "Hold station right there," because it's all points, and they would have gotten those points. He's down. I'm sad to say it. It hurts me to say it. If you're with Daniel right now, you're well out of the points. Leave him alone.
So here's the thing, Ray, also, right? I'm a firm believer, especially at my job, that lessons learned is very important. You have to learn from the past and learn from history. What happened to Lewis in 2021 or 2020, I can't remember when he got robbed, was an accident happened. And because of his placement in first, he couldn't pit to change his tires. Verstappen was in second, was able to pit, change his tires, and blow by. That could easily have happened.
Yep. And Max would have won.
In the race.
Yep. Huh? And I'm agreeing with you. And I said, and Max could have won.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And no one. Did you see how many people celebrated Lando Norris's win?
So let me just say this. I won't take away from Lando's winning. I am happy for him.
He earned that.
Because he saw some of the drivers came up and hugged him and said whatever, right? So I'm fine for that. I was just looking at the strategy of the team, while they were on track, right?
No points.
Yeah.
No points.
Yeah. Don't lose it. Also, don't make it a third whammy by knocking out your teammate and they can't win.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like they talked to him like he was a boy, man, and that's the that rubbed me wrong.
20, 21.
Yeah. I'm saying it's just like because he's there running, he's better than Checo, right? Because he's always on there on there up in the thing running with Lando, sometimes in front, are not too far behind. Whereas Checo, anyway, I won't jump into that one. But
I don't think it hurt
about Checo. What you saying about Checo? You don't think he's hanging out with Lance Stroll? What's going on?
No, Lance is in his own category, bro. Lance Stroll is in his own category. No, I'm not going to do that to Checo, even though with his start move, I'd be tempted to throw him in there. But no, I won't disrespect Checo by doing that. Lance Stroll is in his own category. But it's just, it kind of came across, tough to me when they said that on the radio. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because all they could have said to him is that hold station, as you said, hold station, right? The way they came up, remember, Lando is about to win, so come on, bro. Just say whole station. That's a more professional approach.
No, but I hear you.
And it's clear, right? Like you said, there's non-ambiguous, right?
I hear you, but you know what whole station would have gotten back? Why? There's too much talking. So
you start off team orders as whole station. Done.
Well, I think that did a nicer turn. I don't think it diminished Piastri in any way to say Lando is about to win. He's way down. Lando's about to win. Stop racing him.
All right. Maybe I'm feeling a little too sensitive today then. So, I'll step back a little bit because, it could be that I'm a little bit too sensitive. So that's okay. But yeah,
it's all good. It's all good.
Man. But, I think it's a good segue to talk about what the heck was going on with Magnusson in the sprint race. I know you touched on it a little bit in the beginning, but what was going through his head? He didn't want Lewis to pass him? What? I don't understand what was going on here.
Dude, Magnusson, he's got to be a guy that set the record for the most penalties because as I said before, I was surprised he was on the grid, the amount of penalties he had. Because when they added up all the penalties, he wasn't even nowhere on the track. I don't know what's up with Magnusson, but, I guess he's just doing his thing. He's just, if you got to come by me, you got to come by me. He's being Max Jr.
Max Jr.
Max Jr. when it comes to passing. It's like, I'm going to run you off the road, right? So, maybe he's doing Max Jr., but it was, because the kicker is Hulkenberg seems to be, he's up there and seems to be doing pretty well, moving stuff up, and getting up there with the car. So, I don't know, but it's, because I don't know what's going on with Kevin, but it was entertaining to a point. I will say that it was entertaining to a point.
Because there was one they were coming off the straight, and they were coming to a corner. Lewis completely passed him, and he didn't brake enough to take the turn. So Lewis had to mind him and the turn at the same time. Easily, because once you're ahead of someone, you're thinking that you have the corner, all right? And if Lewis wasn't as experienced as he was, that would have been a crash. He would have been out.
So the same thing happened to Sargent, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's why Sargent went out. So Sargent went around, and then Sargent was in front, right? And they dived back in and hit the rear tire and took him out. So this wasn't a Sargent issue, right? He didn't mess up this time. It's just that usually they said, and they came across and said it, that if you're in front of the person, you had the corner, and he was really in front of the person. He wasn't even questionable. He wasn't even next to the side pod, right? Because he clipped him in the back and took him out. So I don't know what's going on in there. But what I'd like to touch on one thing, though, I want to call up my man Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah.
I've been watching what he's been doing this year, and he has changed tremendously in a positive way. So I want to give Yuki a thumbs up and he's putting it out now. So it's he's able to bring the car up in the points. He did it 7 times. Brought it up into the points, and he's been able to get to qualifying. So Q3. Q3. So
and I just want the other manufacturers. Sorry, I mean to cut you. The other manufacturers are watching.
And I give him props, because I'd written off Yuki as whatever, but whatever the issues was, sometimes it shows you that you need to give people time to
mature,
develop, right. But his last showing, he's been impressive in my book. I'm saying he's been impressive that he's pushing it.
They had that in one of the Drive to Survive, one of the years where they focused on him, and he came across he raw talent, yes, but very erratic, and he needed to develop more. Like they said it in there. He needs to calm down and focus. He was he would get really almost hot-headed about things. And I think that's, he's a young guy, right? With talent. Yeah. So as he matures and learns, then what we're seeing is that now, because it's like Lewis, when he came in, and he could have won in his rookie. I think it was China that he messed up coming into the pits. But even
I remember that when he went off and beached the car.
He beached the car, lost all the point. And it was coming down to the fact of even some of his battles with Fernando. Sometimes he was at a point that if he were the Lewis of now, he would have let him go. But he was young, he was ready, wasn't experienced. So that's what Yuki's coming into his own. He's a good driver, man. He's a driver.
He's doing all right. Because I agree. He is doing all right. Go ahead, Simon.
Well, just touching on that a little bit before we get off the topic. So one of the things I wonder is that if you're coming from F2 and you're going into F1 and you're talented and you've been winning the races and you won a championship in F2, is that something that because I saw it in Verstappen. I didn't get a chance to watch it in Lewis when Lewis first came into F1. But you're saying he was very aggressive, very inexperienced, and was Lewis, right?
Not very, but what it showed, Lewis had raw talent, like we know. He was quick.
Verstappen was when he came in.
Like Verstappen, like Vettel, right? Like Fernando. Like Fernando as well. Raw talent, aggressive, but there were certain things he could have won in his rookie season. I believe he finished 1 point behind Fernando.
He wasn't as risk averse as he is now.
Right.
That's the way I encapsulate it.
Right. And there were a few races where, there were a few races.
Yeah. He's not that. He makes it. He thinks. Not to cut you, but I take it that he thinks about the long game before he makes a decision. Right. And there are times, put him next to Max. He's going to think about just now. You ain't getting the corner. And if we crash, right? He will go back to that. But when he came out from, when he was younger, He was just thinking about now that I need to get by you. I don't care what happened. But, with how he drives now, I think he now thinks sometimes he calculates and think about the long game.
Right. When it comes to him and Max, it will ignite that in him because they are trying to set a precedent against each other. Max is trying to,
I don't blame him.
Just like Senna did.
Yep.
Max and Lewis are trying to say, I'm gonna put it here and leave it up to you, and they're both doing it. So they're both saying, then we're gonna crash.
And if you don't win and I don't win, I'm good with that too. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's okay. But I want to, while you said Max, let me just say this: what was up with his lackluster embrace for Lando? My man didn't even come over, give him a high five, a pound, or anything. He just like stood there and talked to him, like, dude, what's up?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Lando's no threat to him.
Well, I don't know. You know what? They say he and Lando are friends. Off track. We know that. Dude. No. And I understand that. I can understand as friends as they can be because, these guys really can't really be chummy until after, they're done.
Yeah, but he's like 100 points ahead. You know what I'm saying? It's like the guy's no threat to him. It's like, you remember your first win because you had all the other guys, a lot of other drivers coming up, out of nowhere and just giving him a hug and congratulating him and all that stuff. And my man didn't even come over and say, yo, give him a pound or, do the safe, whatever it is. He just like stood there, looked at him and said some stuff. It's like,
well, you know what? I can't say because I don't have a reference to see if Max has done that in the past or not. Maybe it's just him to be that reserved, but we don't know what he said.
I think all of them, not a lot of them, but some of them should remember their first win.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right.
And your first win is that, it's not the dude that's on your heels.
Right.
He's nowhere near you right now.
Right.
So just celebrating the fact that, and then to make it worse, what you said, they're quote unquote friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. That's how you treat your friends. I want to know what you do with your enemies. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Perspective is key. And I see your perspective, Ray. My perspective was he came over, talked to him for about maybe 5 to 8 seconds, congratulated him. He walked over to Lando, congratulated him, and realized that this was a moment for him to go celebrate with his team. That was my perspective. What happened, I didn't watch it all the way through. What happened in the little, don't they go to a
they went to the room and they did a little talking in the room, right? But there's a time to show the exuberance of, like welcoming him
to the club,
into the race winning club, right? And everybody else, expressed a physical interaction as part of that welcoming process, right? Mm-hmm. And I just find it bad that you come over and you lead in the race, and you're just like and then you saying they're friends. I don't know,
friendly.
You just like the standoffish and you talk. Yeah, he could have said congrats on a race and everything, but more emotion, I think, would have been more appropriate for him because it's his first time coming into winning a race after, years of trying. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I don't think they're friends. You know what I'm saying? Because of that response, I don't think they're friends.
Well, I'll say this. You're right. You may be right. You may be right. And hey, okay, I've said one part where I said I don't have a reference on Max to see that. Maybe with this other person, he was more animated and, more, let out more emotion or whatever. So I'll go on the other side. He just may be that. He don't like to lose. And the thing about it. Hold on.
Yeah, no, I'm going to hold on.
I'm just saying, let's look at it the other way. He doesn't like to lose. He don't care to lose. And the thing about it was, we can say that Lando beat him fair and square, because you can't say, well, he only beat me because of the setup of the. That's your issue. That's part of being on that grid, right? He didn't have a DNF. He didn't hit with anybody. The car wasn't compromised that way.
He just got a safety car. He just got a safety car.
He had better pace.
Yeah, better pace. Right. If your car was as hot as it normally is, with that safety car, he would have caught him and passed him. You couldn't.
Right.
Right. So that win Lando Lando beat him.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
Maybe one of those, let's say he might be a slower loser. We know how his dad is because we saw when Checo won, I forgot the race, and Checo came running over to the team guys. His father, Max's father was standing right there like this, staring that way, and Checo is right here being slapped and congratulated by the team. It's like he wasn't even there. So if Max is like his daddy, they're slower losers.
All right, so Simon, you chime in. So sorry, not to cut you, but chime in after Ralph is done, because I'll save what I need to say after that. So go ahead, chime in.
I was just gonna say that I just think he celebrates differently. I think he came over and gave him as much emotion or empathy as he possibly could, because I truly believe he needs to win every time. Okay. And that's the reason why he didn't like Lewis.
Okay.
Right? That's just my interpretation of what I see third hand. And the little bit that I see, we've probably seen a 1/10 of 1% of their interaction, right?
Okay.
I'm talking about Lewis and Max. But that 1/10 that we see of 1% has been very hostile. And I think it's because neither one of them likes to lose.
Right. Okay. Lewis doesn't either. But, I want to throw a little gas on that.
Okay.
I'll throw a little gas on that. Since, Ray, you don't seem satisfied, let's throw a little gas.
I'm not. I'm ready to talk when you guys ready. So you let me know.
When Max won his first world title,
well, he stole that, but that's okay.
He reacted to winning it was as if he won it fair and square.
Right.
And let's be truthful. It's tainted.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I agree.
It's tainted.
Yep.
Right?
I agree.
In that the rules were not followed all the way through.
Yep.
Right?
I agree.
So I will go so far as to say it was a manufactured ending to that race. But when you look, it was. But when you look at how Max and his father react to that, they could give a rat's ass about it. To them, they won it fair and square. Again, they don't like to lose, and they'll win any way they can. So maybe, like you said, he doesn't like to lose. My alternate side of what I said, maybe he just don't like to lose, and he just said, hey, good run, but he's not ecstatic about it because he didn't win, and he was beaten fair and square on track.
So,
all right. So, Simon, what are you saying?
Go ahead. It's all yours. The floor is yours.
All right. I can't say, because I'm gray, I can't see my memories 100%. But I can remember when Leclerc beat him once, he walked over and did the shake and tapped him on the back after when the cars came into the winner's circle. Okay. So
he did the same with Lando. He did. I'll pull it up. He did.
Please do, because I don't want to malign somebody if I'm wrong. So please do. You know what I'm saying? Because based upon what I was watching, it didn't seem that way. So please do bring it up.
I'll go ahead. You keep talking.
That's
go ahead.
important. But that's what I was basing it upon, right? That when Leclerc beat him once, he went over and he said, he gave them, the typical shake that they do, and he gave him a pat on the back. So I was like, okay. And I, when I was watching, I didn't see like if he came over and did anything like that. The last, I saw the other guys came up. Ricardo showed up. Who was it? Russell showed up, right? So quite a few other drivers showed up, to celebrate that. Lando burst his cherry and got the first win. But I just didn't see anything with Max, and that's kind of what's caused me to get the opinion that I have. But listen, I'm a big enough person to say, hey, if I was mistaken, I'll take it back.
I'm telling you, I saw it with my own eyes. He walked over.
It wasn't there.
Put his arms around him, congratulated him.
I'll say this.
And then he jumped into the pit with his
team.
Okay.
I'll say this. Even I'm not saying it is that way, but even if it is, it only makes Lando's win that much sweeter to him.
Yeah. I'm not taking it away, but so you said that he came over with his helmet still on, and that's when he congratulated. His helmet was off.
Lando's helmet was still on. Yes.
No, but Verstappen's helmet was off when he came over. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay, maybe I had something in my eye then that I didn't really see what's going on.
I saw it firsthand. I saw it.
Okay, well, and again, if based upon or I was hallucinating. Maybe I got some of what Checo had in the first beginning of the race.
It was
and,
Miami.
Whatever. So
Yeah.
If that I stand back, but I just thought it was deflating in a way, right? Because he's a multi-time winner. He's a world champion. Somebody new is not really on your heels. Just come on and say, hey, congratulations. I remember when. You know what I'm saying? That type of stuff. So anyway, that was my little takeaway there that I saw. I thought that was kind of strange. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And did you notice one last thing? Did you notice he was so what's his name? Verstappen was so accustomed to being first that when they led them over to the little mini mooks that take them to the thing, he was walking to the first car and they had to correct him and say, "Yo, dude, you're number 2."
But here's the other thing on that: the safety car driver was so accustomed to lining up in front of Max.
Yeah, that he messed up
in front of Max, and then they had to tell him no, you gotta let them cycle through and pick up Lando.
Yeah. I was hoping that the safety car guy would have put some pedal to the metal and let me see that safety car, move. Even though when they said that even when we look at it, they're going slow, they're doing like 80, 90 miles an hour because they have to try and keep the airflow of the cars so they don't overheat.
So for this last segment, do you guys want to talk about Newey?
Yo, he's going to Ferrari with Lewis. They're going to rule the world. That's my say.
It was funny you say this because it was reported that one of Adrian's bucket list, or 2 of his bucket list things that he would have loved to have done. One was to work with Ferrari, but it didn't line up before because his kids were young and he didn't want to relocate to Italy and he wanted to stay close, but his kids are now adults, young adults. So they're saying that one is a possibility. And the other thing that was his bucket list was he wanted to work with Lewis.
So interesting.
Lewis going to Ferrari. So we're wondering. We're all like, is it going to happen?
Yeah, hopefully Ferrari's smart enough to take a hint and suck them both in, and then to finish their stuff. Because I'll say this though, it seems so far that their strategy this year is not as bad as it was before. It seems like they're kind of on it now. And yes, and Charles is talking up more now than he was before. Right. So I think that it's a positive change. Right. But yeah, man, because I was watching a thing on Newey, and to see like some of his history, and he's been fired from a team. I think he got fired from McLaren Williams back in the day with some design that he did, and they kind of forced him on what they call a sabbatical, where he was out there doing. And then I think another time he took some time off. Maybe he was burnt out. So yeah, but it's I think that would be the coup. For next year, for 2025. Yeah, if they could bring him in and they make the car, because I think to me that would be more of a fair fight with Red Bull, right? Because the rules on the car won't change next year, right? Because once you go to 2026, all bets are off. You start from scratch again. But to see, it would be good to see that move.
That's why I think he's going next year, right? Because he's going to be working on the 2026 car. Let's just face it. He might help with the 2025 car, but he's going to be helping with the 2026 car.
Yeah, because of timing.
He needs to be doing both. Because I need some.
He'll do both. I'm assuming they'll pay him a lot, and he'll do both. And with the kids out the house, like you said, there's nothing. There's working 80 hours is probably nothing for him at this point.
But it's also, is there anything with Red Bull, like, is it a clean break that he can just leave and go, or
it's contract? I'm assuming it's like everything else, right? It's like you work for Red Bull, but I'm assuming it's a contract just like anything else. It's just your own LLC or whatever you want to call it, your own company. And once the contract ends, I'm hoping there's no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Built-in
non-compete clauses.
Or garden leave, as they call it, garden leave, where you can't work on anything for a specified period of time.
Probably a year.
Right. So that's I don't know. I haven't heard that, so I just wonder.
That's possible. That's possible. Yeah.
Right. If he does leave. So let's say there isn't one. We already know that Ferrari and all the teams are gonna already start working on next year's car. They're probably already starting now.
2026 or
No,
2025?
2025 car.
Yeah, the Red Bull's already started on 2025,
right.
like in the beginning of the season.
Right, and I think they said that he's already fully engrossed in that. So the question, what I was trying to say is, let's say he did leave and he was able to start over in 2025. I don't think he would be able to make that much of a difference on the car. He's going to come and see what they've already done.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be little things. Like if he doesn't agree with something, I don't think it could be changed at that point. So then he would be focusing on 2026.
Well, hopefully he can impact some of the packages, right? That they want to upgrade. Do tweaks. Yes, I agree that it won't be. I don't think it'll be major changes,
right.
But I'm hoping that he can influence some of the upgrade packages that will then bring him up because they're close, right? Because what Simon put the sticky blew up the balloon when he brought it to the point where he said, yeah, Red Bull hasn't put a package on. So basically, I'm thinking that it would be Ferrari would be the closest to them to compete because they don't have a package yet either, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, he brought up a valid point, Simon. Man, you just come and wreck everything, Simon. Anyway, So, I don't take it over a one-team thing. If Ferrari can keep the good packaging and get closer to them and stay there because, they're going to drop an upgrade. And as I said before, I think depending on how tight the competition is will dictate what type of upgrade to do. But I think from a strategic standpoint, the smart thing is to have a full upgrade, but have it breaking down into components that you can put this piece on and not bring the other piece. You know what I'm saying? And just hold it back and saying, all right, we know this upgrade is going to work, and we're just going to put on, i.e., we're going to run this front wing instead, right? And see, and then go from there, and then see how close they get, and if that, then we're going to come back and throw this part on.
You're thinking that the complete package is not a prerequisite. Those pieces don't work as a whole, right?
No, they work as a whole.
And it needs the other three pieces to really be an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you're saying, but I think you can still put pieces on that it will not be as efficient as you put the whole thing on. Okay. However, but it will still increase the efficiency, right? They're not going to put something on that's going to make the car completely out of balance, right? That for sure. But I think that you can bring, small tweaks from that other package to help and see, and they'll test it to help and see, they'll throw it on Checo's car because since he ain't up there, if he gets impacted by it, to help and see if they can tune it out given the given, configuration that they have.
You've raised a question though. I know watching here in the last 6-7 years that every so often I would see where certain cars, it was Mercedes a lot, would break track records, especially in qualifying and during the race. They would have, the time, they would break the track record. I haven't seen that in this generation of cars where they're breaking track records.
Are you talking Mercedes? Because Mercedes is nowhere.
I'm talking about breaking track records throughout all the manufacturers.
Oh, okay.
When was the last time you saw where they're breaking track records? Was this generation of car was just that terrible?
Yeah, I don't recall. I don't recall because
I don't know either.
But you remember seeing that, right? When they were breaking track records?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, because it seems like, even though they try to not have aero effect on the cars, they could get caught in this DRS train where they can't break out. It's like the train of death. You can't break loose of it, right? And so they're still very aero dependent, on the car, right? For the car to work. There's the level of mechanical grip is, still not there in some sense, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm just hoping that we have more of these races because it's evident to me, just based on our conversation today, that we need more content. And that content is based on somebody else winning other than Max Verstappen, right? And the race being competitive and the race being fun again. And I'm sure for fans, it's something that we all want to see is that, all right, we don't want to know who the winner is going to be. We want to see some racing. We want to see some competitive fervor. We want to see some people just going at it and doing it all. Like Magnusson cutting off Lewis. If it was any other driver, I'd probably be like, man, he really being aggressive out there. But because it was Lewis, us. What are you doing, man? But yeah, it was good to see the sprint races. It was good to see it all. I really enjoyed this weekend.
Yeah, I think it was good.
It was good. I would agree. It was entertaining. I was a bit perplexed with some of the results, and so for some of the drivers to see really what's up with that. Why, they are racers. You know what I'm saying? They need to have a race of champions, where you get like the guys that have been up there and just give them a car there's no car that's ever 100% the same, but more similar than what they have. And to have them run against each other just to see, like an all-star thing or something else, something like that, just where it is. Because, the sprint race, they were they were pushing it and they were there. It was good to see, some changes in the standard order of things.
Yeah. Well, I think it was, like we said, it was a good race. And the next race up is Italy.
Yep. 17th.
On the 17th. So we will be able to see if Max is on top again, and I think he probably will be, but we'll see how Ferrari holds up. One thing I'll say is that Leclerc stepped up. Carlos had him in the beginning of the few earlier races, and now he's stepped up his game. We'll see how that plays out. And then somebody, before we close out, somebody didn't really say much of, but he was there, was George Russell.
Yeah, he was behind Lewis.
Yeah, he was behind Lewis. But
that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I like George, but okay.
I'm sorry.
I like George.
Are you though? Are you sorry, man?
I need to be a bigger person, and I'm sorry. Maybe I'm channeling some Max Verstappen there. Oops. Sorry. You know what? Why don't you close out so I don't get in trouble?
Yeah. And on that note, everyone, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Fellas Podcast, and we will be back with you on the 17th for the Italian Grand Prix. Please like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on all things the Fellas. Take care, everyone.
All right, later.
Latest.